or presents the Terminus Mandate.
My name is Cole Ross.
My name is Jeremy Greer.
And what would your last arch be, Jeremy?
Gary.
Mine too. And your last arch can't be a team up, so
either Gary or Will. I think Will would be a fun person to arch.
Will would be an easy person to get to, like, arch himself. You know?
Yes, absolutely. Like, I think you can manipulate Will pretty easily into just. That sounds terrible. to making him feel bad. I'm sorry, Will. I think you're a nice person. I don't know why I just said that mean thing about you. It sounded horrible. I'm sorry.
He's not even here to defend himself.
I know.
I introduced the concept. It's fine. People who listen to the entire Orb run know what Will did to the show when he was on. So
I need to go back and listen to those episodes. I'm behind.
It was total chaos when he was on. It was really fun. We're here for another fun episode, and Jeremy remains with us doing admirable guest host duties. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you for having me. This is fun. I'm glad I could get a chance to fill in and talk about the Venture Brothers, one of my favorite shows of all time. Did I ever tell you about that? I bought I was so excited. One of the first records that I bought, like a new record, like not just like a old record that's in a store or something, but hey, we were releasing this soundtrack on vinyl, was the Venture Brothers.
Oh,
and it came 2 days before we moved from Arizona to back to Louisiana, and so I didn't have it in my record box. I just kind of stuck it in the back of the car that we were traveling with. And you already know what's happening. It was June. It came out in a much different shape than the way it went into the car. So it was a huge bummer for me and my Venture Brothers fandom.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. And I never bought it again. I think you can just buy it now, but I don't know. There's something different about it. So I was I'm all up in my feelings about it.
No, that's a shame. The music in this series is great. J.J. Thirlwell does amazing work.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We're talking about an episode. This was written by Doc Hammer, and it originally aired September the 23rd of 2018. This is all about guild stuff. We get a minor rusty plot, but that is primarily concerned with the guild council needing to reconstitute itself. And this requires all of the people who want to be on the council to give up their active villaining careers. So they take one final climactic job so they can go out with a bang.
Yep. And it's fun. I like bureaucratic guild nonsense. It's some of my favorite things that the Venture Brothers does. Just the goofy rules and the dumb things that they have to go through, the paperwork. So this is leaning into this a little bit. It was very fun, and also just the sheer joy that the two guild assistants take in coming up with the perfect arch, the perfect last arch for these people is very good.
When they walk in handing out the envelopes, just the big grins on their face, oh man, it's the satisfaction of doing good work, but also doing good work for people you respect, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Watch and Ward are great.
I was there's one character that's introduced in this, and I just found out because I was looking at the IMDb page, but Novia, the Black Widow character that's introduced, is voiced by Kristen Milotti, and I didn't know that when I was watching this episode last night, and I'm so happy because I really, really like her. I just finished her HBO series where her Elon Musk-esque boyfriend clones her consciousness against her will. And it's a quote unquote comedy like the HBO likes to do. But yeah, she's great in it. So I just wanted to because I literally just finished that series and didn't know she was in this episode. So it's cool.
Huh. Let me see here. Kristen Milotti, she does I think that she's Serena as well.
Oh, maybe so. Yeah.
Yes, she is. Yeah. So they had her come in for that. Yeah. So I never. People will probably take away my able to talk about television card for this. I never watched The Sopranos. So I have no basically I know Kristen Milotti from the Venture Brothers is my provenance on her, and she does a really good job. So I will believe that she is good in her live action work.
It's okay that you didn't know that that you didn't see The Sopranos, because I didn't even know she was in The Sopranos until this moment. Even though I've seen that series like 2 or 3 times, I can't even remember where she would have been in. But I think most people would probably recognize her as the titular mother in How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, okay, there we are. Yeah.
Also, she's great.
Also, a show that I haven't seen.
There's a really fun movie called Palm Springs with her and Andy Samberg. It's one of those like day loop kind of things.
Oh yeah,
where Andy Samberg is living the same day over and over again, and then somehow she gets pulled into it. So now they're both living the same day over and over again.
That sounds like hell.
And it is, and it's made even better by J.K. Simmons also living the same day over and over again and trying to murder them both every day. So highly recommend Palm Springs if you haven't seen it, because if you like time loop movies like that, it's because it's fun.
Yeah, it'll be hard for anything to unseat the endless for me in the time loop pantheon. But that sounds really good.
Yeah. This is not even trying to get to that. This is like a very firmly into the comedy time loop thing.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's not trying to do anything that the endless was doing.
I mostly just wanted to find a diagonal way to talk about the endless.
Let's do it. Let's fuck the Venture Brothers, man. Let's go. Let's talk about all 3 of those movies. I don't know if Gary told you, but he recommended. I can't remember which. It must have been the endless. To me, I think based on your recommendation, and I ended up watching the Endless and the one that they released before that, and maybe even one of the other ones too. I get the names confused, and it led up to me being extremely excited about them doing Moon Knight for the MCU. A series that is probably like my least favorite MCU thing that has ever happened.
Oh, that's fun. I love Moon Knight.
Let's fight about it. I've seen you talk about it on Twitter, and I told Gary, I was like, we need to get Cole on for the Moon Knight episode, because one of us has to like this to be able to talk about it.
Oh, it'd just be you guys pummeling me from both sides.
That works too. We can do that.
I happen to I liked the show. I liked that quite a bit, but also I had not really seen any MCU stuff outside of like the big tentpole releases.
Sure,
so and having gone back and done a broader MCU or kind of like watch since seeing Moon Knight, I recognize how little it has to do with anything. So
yeah, I think it's that, and I think a lot of the newer TV shows that MCU is doing are real like they're not for everybody that likes the MCU. They're really filling in gaps of people that like specific things, just like the comic books did, right? Like I never read a bunch of Moon Knight comic books, so why I went into the Moon Knight TV show expecting it to be like great for me, I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're here to talk about the Venture Brothers. We don't want to Days of Future cast this. So.
That's fine. But if you guys do a Moon Knight series or a Moon Knight episode, I will happily be on it.
Yeah, we'll get you involved on that, I promise.
Cool. But yeah, Kristen Milotti, yes, she's in the B plot. So we have the final arches. Rusty, I love this. He has not been laid in a while, so he figures the best way to do that as an incredibly wealthy person is to actively court a Black Widow. This woman named Terry, who seduces rich men, marries them, and then kills them. Figuring basically just very short-sightedly focused on the first part of the sentence, not necessarily worried about the last part of the sentence.
And in a classic Venture fashion, like it's all about the physical stuff, right? So like, and I love this. I don't know who plays this like hard-boiled detective guy, but his dialogue is so on point when he's like, are we on the same page? We're not on the same page. You're in the funny papers. I'm in the obits, like that kind of thing. Really, really funny. And like when he's like, she worships them and then she kills them, and he's like, well, go back to the worshiping part. Like what specifically are we talking about? Like he's just so honed in on the sex part that he does not care about anything else. It's a decent like if you're Rusty Venture, this is not just getting a prostitute, right? Like he's it's almost like he's like, I'm rich, I'm famous, I might as well get some benefits out of it. I might as well have women worship me out of their, and then I'll just have my bodyguard protect me.
Yeah, no worries. I can completely take any danger out of this equation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh God, that character who does that stuff in the cold open, that's Night Dick. He featured in the first, he was in the season 6 premiere as part of like what Hank calls basically the Avengers, which is real good. He's kind of a combination Ghost Rider, Batman kind of guy. That's James Adomian who's doing that voice. Yeah,
cool.
So the two plots collide because the Black Widow also happens to be an old arch of Dr. and Mrs. the Monarch back from her days as Lady Au Pair.
Oof. Woof.
Yes, she is Novia, the bride themed superhero kind of person who apparently broke bad. Novia being Spanish for fiance. That's great.
Perfect.
Yeah. Not much to say about the commentary on this one. The boys just really like the episode, which lines up because I do too.
Yeah, this is fun from like a classic. Anytime they bring back Johnny, I love this dude. Like his overarching like story for the series is great. Dr. Z is amazing. But all of this stuff, and then of course I haven't had a chance to talk about. I'm sure y'all have been talking about him a lot, but Clancy Brown as the Red Death, and this is just like mind-bogglingly so good. I love Clancy Brown so much that I anytime he's in anything, I'm just obsessed with it.
Do you know the story of how they got him to be on the show?
Not at all.
We talked about this in the first Red Death episode, but like the introduction was made because one of the Venture Brothers producers happened to walk their dog at the same park where Clancy Brown walked his dog.
Okay.
And just that's how the connect was made. Like, oh, you'll never guess who I run into semi-frequently. Clancy Brown. Oh, a word? Maybe would you be interested in being one of the best characters of our later seasons? Yes, please, and thank you.
Do you ever get the feeling that like it's just never going to work out for us because we just don't have these connects? Like I had one of these situations when I got my first gig as an actual like computer tech. Mm-hmm. It was just I happened to be doing work for a guy who knew a different guy that owned a computer company, and like I found out later that the guy hired me as a favor, that he did not want to hire me at all, but he hired me as a favor from this first guy that I had done some work for, and then like became a really good employee, and like we're all super friendly and everything's great. And I feel like that was it. Like that was my nepotism bonus or whatever. That was my walking my dog at the same park as Clancy Brown, and then getting this kind of thing that happened because wow, that's just amazing.
It's just those weird coincidences. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, it kind of seems like the only good thing about living in New York or LA or any of those places where actual things happen. Like everything about it would be hell. I don't like being around other people, but no, Clancy Brown isn't walking his dog out here in Ohio with me, No,
not at all. Yeah. And he stays away from the swamp very specifically.
he's got a particular phobia. He's like Archer. He's afraid of gators.
Yeah. They filmed some of Carnival down here, and he was almost crucified. So that's, kind of a negative thing.
Yeah. I have no idea how much of that is true.
None. I have no idea either. I don't think Carnival was filmed down here, but I could be wrong. There's a lot of desert in Carnival, so who knows?
So we get our cold open at Vincenzo's restaurant. The guild folks are here doing a meetup. Phantom Limb is upset that he is in his supervillain costume, where Dr. Miss the Monarch and Red Death are incognito. The cold open focuses on the other side of the restaurant, though, where Rusty and Night Dick are talking. Night Dick has been doing some PI work and is handing over this file on a woman named Teresa Dide, which is a pun on the actual scientific name of the Black Widow spider, which is fun. Laying out, she's a Black Widow. She walks into rich men's lives and treats them like gods, then kills them. And you already mentioned the line, but Rusty jokes, saying like, by gives them the works, do you mean no orifice off limits? And it's like different, or are we on different pages? Different pages. I'm on the obituaries. You're on the Penthouse Forum. And
I didn't know you had that written down in the notes when I made that joke earlier, so apologies. But yeah, that's it's just so funny, dude. And then the response where he's like, "Oh, now I just need her web address, Black Widow. You get it."
There's nothing to get but killed. She'll love you and leave you dead.
Absolutely great.
Night Dick. So specifically, like those little bits of dialogue. Something that can be a little bit frustrating about the way the show is put together is they write separately, and there's very little like oversight between them on what script is Just they don't really work together on scripts at all, unless they are very specifically doing a season premiere or a season finale, usually. But you get some of these instances where a lot of their best work comes from a character kind of like bit that they tick on just while they're at the Astro base. They talk about this in the commentary, just like, oh, we spent a whole day just in character as Night Dick doing these little one-liners, just everything being the like, this would end a scene in CSI Miami, right?
Yeah.
That cadence, that particular delivery where it's one way and then it's the other way, but delivered in the most grim just as a grim punchline. And like, oh yeah, like we planned out like season 8 and 9 could all be about Night Dick and his backstory and his whole deal, just because of that improvising that they did back and forth with each other.
You mentioned them talking about season 8 and 9 in the last episode, and I don't think I could take the heartache that is listening to them talk about plans for something that may not happen, or is definitely not happening. Like I just it would break my heart every time they say something about it. I couldn't handle the I can't even handle talking about it right now.
Yeah, no, it's there's a lot about the commentary. Like the commentary is like really combative in this season in a way that it hasn't been. Just that there have been times where it's like kind of like there's tension. It's like these guys actually like each other. They eventually like it eventually warms up and that goes away. But like all of that, kind of planting seeds for later. That tragic irony is a weird space to live in. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Rusty's not trying to stop her. He wants to date her, again, because he is fixated on the sex. We get the kind of the title sting, and then we cut over to the other side. What the guild people are here to do, which is to meet with an ambassador from the Peril Partnership, a Daredevil takeoff called Blind Rage.
Yeah, this dude sucks, and it's a pretty classic like shitty guy from the get go. Because he's like, he talks about how he comes in, he's like, where's the something? Don't worry, I'm just kidding. I can use my radar to find anything, including like he points at the table like he's having a drink, and he looks at Dr. and Mrs. Monarch and says, I can even tell that your boobs are coming out of your bra. Is it your monthly? Ha, I'm just kidding. I could smell it if it was. It's just like super fucking gross, and like, and Dr. and Mrs. Monarch is doing the thing where she's like actively trying to run the guild in a professional way, but Red Death is like, I am going to murder this man in this establishment immediately, and she has to like back him down. I don't know why it's charming that she just calls him Red. She's like, Red, it's not worth it. It's just very nice.
It's the other side, so the thing about the guild, it's all of the all of the bureaucracy is very funny, but the collegial respect that is extended is also very cute and charming.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
She respects Red Death as a person, like she wanted him on the council. It's really funny. It is funny and also humanizing. Like it is good in a show when characters like each other, as opposed to viewing each other just as opportunities for jokes, to be fired off. Yeah.
Or worse, like kind of not acknowledging each other until the plot needs them to, right?
Yes.
Like creating, I think that's the difference between like a really good show and just an average show, is like creating that world around them and creating that like, shorthand or small talk or whatever it is, but that camaraderie between characters that can even exist off screen makes it so much more evocative. It makes you think that this is a world you're getting a window in on, as opposed to a TV show that is made specifically to be watched. Yeah.
I use this example all the time, but it's something that like where Bob's Burgers stands in contrast to like especially late era Simpsons. Which is in late era Simpsons, everybody is very clearly making jokes to the audience, whereas the characters in Bob's Burgers are talking to and listening to each other and trying to make each other laugh.
Yeah,
that's a huge part of it.
Yeah, that's an astute observation. Like, because I definitely feel like Bob's Burgers is way better than modern day Simpsons.
Oh yeah, so. And not an especially high bar to clear, but
actually, I say that I probably like when I say like late era Simpsons, I'm probably actually talking about like early 2000s, which is probably when I started falling off of it. So
yeah,
who knows? I haven't checked in on the Simpsons in so fucking long. Like I have no idea what it's like now. So maybe it's gotten good again, but I can't imagine that it's still rolling like that.
Gary had a period about 1.5 years ago where he was incredibly season 31 pilled on The Simpsons. He was like,
Fuck,
it's
Gary.
actually pretty good.
just for that, I'm taking over the rest of this podcast. You don't get to be on the orb anymore just because I don't, and look, don't come at me on Twitter either at Gary Buh. I don't care. I don't care about season 31 of The Simpsons, and this is my podcast now. Take that.
And I weirdly, I have no say in the decision. Contractually, you can just do that.
You signed the paperwork. You knew what was possible.
That's what I get for trusting you. So
we cut over to the meteor base, where or I guess we actually didn't talk about what they're here to talk about, right? Like the Peril partnership basically wants kickbacks from them because they had this agreement with the Walrus guy, which and now the Walrus guy is on the council. They want the same arrangement with the guild, and so it's a choice between, hey, either pay us and we'll go away, or we're going to make your life an absolute misery.
Yeah. And so Wide Whale's like, let's just keep the same arrangement. The vote to appease them goes through, but not everybody's happy with it. Like Phantom Limb says, are we going to let them treat us like chumps? Red Death definitely wants nothing to do with paying them anything, and he's gonna seek his own arrangement here. That's going to be what he does while everybody is doing their final arches.
So good.
Yeah. The next order of business is that final arch thing where Dr. Miss the Monarch says nothing in the council charter says we need to be 13. Like that was just a flourish that the sovereign did, because he was just a weird, ostentatious guy. We can reconstitute the council with however many people we want, but in order to do that, we need to drop our active villain status, which means final arches. And this is where Watch and Ward come out, saying, oh boy, we worked really hard on this. We did tons of research. Mm-hmm. We think that you're going to love what we give you here. And they pass out the envelopes.
I even love the actual envelopes, right? Like this, they spent a lot of time on the stationery, and it just shows. Like you could tell they put a lot of thought and a lot of work into this, and it made it really, really nice. Yeah.
That's all Doc Hammer. Like all of the graphic design stuff and document design. It's all his layout stuff.
We switch from here over to Rusty trying to. Is this a dating profile or is this like a Facebook situation? Because they mentioned seeing pictures of this of Terry, the Black Widow stand-in, but not being able to see the rest of her photos until they're friends. So I didn't know if this was like a Tinder situation or if this was just like a Facebook Twitter situation. I couldn't really get the feeling for this.
I think it's a Facebook thing, because in a later episode it is alluded that this doesn't go well, and Rusty continues stalking her.
Oh, okay. Cool. Excellent. Yeah. Good job.
Way to go, Rust. But he wants to see, because the first photo, just we learn what it is, because it says, oh, maybe in the next one she removes her hand bra, real racy. But they need to be friends. So Rusty says all right, well, he suggests all these really over the top things. Perhaps we should send her a flower made of punctuation. And Hank's like, oh, that's real. That's a little bit desperate. It's desperate and stupid. And Brock is like, what in the world are you thinking?
Yeah, this is it's incredibly stupid. Like you're just being dumb. And Rusty mentions that he hasn't had sex since Hank's graduation, and is still just kind of obsessed with this idea of having this person who just wants him for his money, but to pretend to worship him. And the line read that you have in here, which I don't want to be laughed at, denied, or even feel like the pathetic man I clearly am. Almost feels like it feels like it could just be a throwaway gag, but it feels like the culmination of Dr. Venture's character over 7 seasons of TV, right? It's just him finally acknowledging oh, this is actually who I am, and leaning into the shitty parts of his personality of going well, yeah, instead of accidentally doing this, I'm going to go out of my way to do it and then make it as good for me as possible.
Yeah. It's a moment where the extremeness of his involuntary celibacy has pushed him to startling heights of self-awareness that he would otherwise not have reached.
Exactly. Yeah. In the background in this, remind me, I know Hank. There's the little floating car thing that's all crashed in Hank's room. Is that the one that he was using to kind of because he was using it in New York, right? Because I remember it from the compound, but he was using it in New York to do something. I couldn't remember what it was from when I was watching it.
Yeah, it was that's the hover car that JJ had developed. He was using it to deliver pizzas, but he was also using it to get into Serena's bedroom.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah, so, and Wide Whale's goons busted it up.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All coming together.
Yep. But Terry messages them back, and Hank is like, "Gentlemen, the spider has taken the fly," which is funny because Hank, that fly is your dad.
Yes, absolutely. We jump over to the Monarch house, where Dr. Mrs. the Monarch has informed the Monarch that she's not going to be an active supervillain anymore, and he's taken it rather badly. He yells a little bit, and then he opens the secret hatch to his basement and like stomps down it and slams the library door in her face, which is very funny to me. Yep. The idea of having like a secret door, like bookshelf door, and then like slamming it in someone's face, I think is extremely hilarious. And 21 is doing his best here to comfort Dr. Mrs. the Monarch, saying stuff like he's not going to commit suicide or anything. And she's like, what are you even talking about? And he's just trying to comfort her, like saying like he might be mad, but he's not going to do anything extreme. And she's like, I wasn't even thinking that.
Yeah. Like, just stop it. Whatever you think is helping, just stop, please. She opens up her final arch envelope, and it describes, your greatest failure as a villain was back in your Lady Au-Pair days, which was a nanny themed supervillain who went around committing crimes with her moppets. Yes, the moppets come back, delighting nobody. But your greatest failure, you attempted to steal the faith diamond, and you were stopped. And we get this flashback. I love this gag. She's taking the diamond, and then just in the background you hear these little explosions going off. These little pop pop. It's like, I told you to stop opening the cash bags.
And these little idiots come out and are like, of course we're not doing that, and they're just covered with the ink that banks use to prevent this very thing. Very good gag. I despise the Moppets in almost every single scene that they're in. It's probably one of the worst running gags of the show in my mind. But they're not here long because Novia comes in. You mentioned before she's like a bridal themed superhero, which is very amusing to me. Like the idea of like the bridal gown being like a costume is very funny.
The fact that she fights with like an exploding bouquet.
Oh yeah. I don't know how far you've gotten into. There's a weapon in Elden Ring that looks exactly like this chick's weapon. I don't want to spoil it in case people don't know about it, but like there's an NPC that uses like this weapon, and it's just very funny to me when I saw that. I was like, I'm gonna make a Novia gimmick account in Elden Ring.
Yeah, put on the maiden's gear and
exactly.
Roll up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just you use all of the perfumer consumables and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you and Gary were talking about the Let Me Solo Her and like all of its variations that have happened since then, that was one of them, is Let Me Marry Her, and it's just a guy, but he's carrying the bouquet of flowers.
God, I'm such a mark for the Let Me Blank Her or Let Her Blank Me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I ran dual twin blades, not to turn this into bonfire sites, right? I ran dual twin blades for a while, and I changed my name because you can do that now, which is great. I love the fact that you're even able to, but it said let me blender them, and it was one of the later game fights where there's two guys and they bleed real easy, so it was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's good. Oh man.
Anyway, sorry. Novia appears, and she takes the diamond, and she just basically thwarts Lady Au-Pair and her goons. And we jump back into the present with Phantom Limb. I'm glad you made a note of this because I just don't get why Phantom Limb has just chicks hanging out, like giving him like feet rubs, like invisible foot rubs. Like,
so this is a reference. It doesn't make sense for Phantom Limb, but this is specifically a visual allusion to Our Man Flynn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got me on that one.
I've never seen that movie. It was talked about in the commentary and then corroborated by the wiki. So
okay, Dr. Hammer, you got me on that one because I have no idea what you're doing there. But he calls his arch, and they make arrangements to go to meet at the bridge in Central Park, like old school, like gentlemen. And I was very surprised at who this was at the end of the episode. I'm very delighted.
It's real good. Also real good is Wide Whale's arch. We don't get to see any of this happen, but he's a big New York mob guy. So of course his last arch would be Curtis Sliwa, the founder of the Guardian Angels. The Guardian Angels is such a funny concept.
Yes, absolutely.
It's so dorky. Like, let's send out beret wearing karate vigilantes.
So dumb and dorky. I love it.
Yeah, but he sends Rocco out to go beat him up for him because Wide Whale is Wide Whale. Dr. Z's final arch is, of course, it's Johnny. We have only one word for you. That word is Johnny. And then we get a shot-for-shot recreation of an actual Johnny Quest bit.
Is it really?
Yeah. The only thing that they changed was, so Johnny Quest's little childhood friend who went along, or was Indian, a young Indian boy. So they decided, well, how can we make Johnny Quest more offensive? What if we made that person an actual, Native American, a different kind of Indian?
Sure.
So that's what they changed. But like, this is like a full on style parody and shot for shot of Dr. Z ordering his goons to shoot Johnny's dog, and then an Anubis mask falling onto the dog and scaring off Dr. Z's bungling henchmen. You're a bungler.
It's very funny. I love all of the old school. Like anytime they flash back to Dr. Z and Johnny, it brings a lot of warmth to my heart. We check in on Radical Left, who I don't know if we've seen his house before, but I love.
No, we haven't.
Okay, I love. It's very much. I don't know if they talk about this, but you've seen like it's a common meme format image where it's the two like beach houses, and one is like super super black and goth, and one is like super pink, but they're directly next to one another. And like the visual, and it looks just like that, where it's just like one side is completely like nice and painted, and the other side is just garbage. And it's very funny to me.
God, just the whole concept for Radical Left, like I really wish, to spend any time on Radical Left in the Venture Brothers movie would be a mistake, probably, because there's just not much. Like there's more important stuff to get to in that limited time, in the 90 minutes that you're going to have. But man, if we just got a Radical Left focus episode, it's such a good concept, and I love this like character and delivery. His final arch is Right Wing, which just happens to be his clean cut half. Kind of the Reagan, the real wholesome Reagan era, kind of guy. It's like, take your best shot. This time, don't absorb me again. This is just a little bit later, but it's such a brief cutaway, kind of underlining that they are two different people who have merged, and they don't share a consciousness. They settle it by playing Clue with each other.
Perfect, absolutely perfect. I am 100% here for them just playing Clue with one another to settle this out, like gentlemen, I guess. It's very funny to me. We skip over to Dragoon and Red Mantle, who are a little bit shook about their potential arch, who it could be. So they decide to just chill out, put on some dinner, and watch Downton Abbey. And they make a couple of not real deep, but like they make some good Downton Abbey jokes, which makes me think that the boys probably had watched some Downton Abbey at this point by the time this came out. It's very funny.
I love the joke. Dragoon's like, "Oh, I love that Violet. It'd be great to double team her." And Red Mantle's like we have a choice.
We have a choice. We gotta. That's the only way we can do it. And then there's a lot of goofs about Al from Home Improvement because they could just take that dude or something. And it's really funny. Like I don't know if they're saying that he's too nice to fight them, or he's just like too much of a pushover to fight back, so they can just. But man, it feels like I've always kind of wanted to bully Al a little bit, even when I was like watching Home Improvement back in the day. Like I just felt like even as a teenager, I was like, I could probably make that dude give me his lunch money.
Yeah, probably.
And I don't think that about very many people in my life. So
he just presented as such a weenie.
Yeah, exactly.
Take that, Richard Karn. I'll make you wish you were hosting Family Feud again. Come on.
Oh, is that what he did after Home Improvement? I didn't keep up with the Al universe.
You didn't keep up with the expanded Richard Garniverse. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
no, yeah. He hosted a Family Feud for a little while before. I think I don't know if Steve Harvey took over from him, but it was for like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Wow, that's just Steve Harvey's show in my mind. So I can't even imagine Al doing that at all. So.
He tricks people into saying smutty things and then mugs for the camera.
I know, it's really perfect.
And Red Death, he doesn't care about this final arching at all. He has his own business to settle with Blind Rage. Walks up and then just does the Jason Bourne knockout in one punch on him.
Gotta love it. We're gonna go back and check in on Rusty, where they have recruited Dean. It's always amazing to me how like drama adjacent Dean is. Like he's just he just wants to be a theater kid. Like that's all he's ever wanted to be, is just a theater kid. And he's halfway there. He's already homeschooled, so he's like 60% into being a theater kid, because those go hand in hand.
Hey, I was a theater kid and I wasn't homeschooled.
I was a theater kid, and that's how I know there's a bunch of weird homeschooler guys that show up.
Yeah.
I was unnamed apostle in the whatever the Seven Brothers thing is. Or Jesus Christ Superstar was the one. I was unnamed apostle and was told not to sing because I was bringing everybody down.
Jeremy, it's real depressing. We got
dude, it's I was it wasn't even depressing, it was just bad. They were like, you're messing everybody up, we can hear you and we don't need to. And I'm like, okay, cool. Good times. But yeah, so it's just when he shows up with the bridal veil and is pretending to be the Black Widow that Rusty is going in, and the whole thing is set up so that Rusty can avoid being killed by her. It's very funny, but also it's so incredibly stupid. Like throughout the whole thing, that you're just shaking your head the entire time that you're laughing at it, because it's just so dumb. Like, what are you guys doing? What is this?
This is one of the annoying things on the wiki, is like it's pointed out in the trivia, which is like nobody notices the logical contradiction that she wouldn't try to kill Rusty on the first date. She marries them and then kills them. And to me, it's like, I don't know. That can't be the criticism if it's just like, the entire premise of the episode is bad.
Dude, going through the wiki on any show that you watch is some of the most like ridiculous shit in the world.
It's a terrible idea.
Like the trivia section specifically has gotten, I think, dramatically worse throughout like the lifetime of me being on the internet, because like people don't understand what trivia is. They just state facts. Like it's just like they really just want to be, it's that pedantic urge coming through that really, and that's got to be the people that things like wikis attract. But man, I do not doubt that there's some dumb shit in there about the Venture Brothers.
It's one of those things where the people who populate the wiki cannot be the same people who edit it. And
exactly. Yeah.
The nature of wiki communities, there are people who do really like our jobs would be infinitely harder without the people who do that work. So don't want to sound unappreciative. However, the nature of how wikis are put together means that conflict is always going to be there, and it is going to result in a product where it's like, why is this on here?
We had a running bit on Monster of the Week on just one specific episode where we talked about how one of the characters was a virgin. Okay. And so we kept joking about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to the Supernatural Wiki and I'm just going to type in. So I registered the podcast email address. I had to sign up to fandom.wiki or whatever. And then I put it in there, and I swear to God, not even to the end of the podcast, but like 4 or 5 minutes later, we were banned. We'd gotten kicked off the wiki. Like just that quick. Just because I said Dean was a virgin in one episode. That was it. That was over the line. And I was like, okay, well, that's fine. I guess I won't. I guess they're going to keep us down.
I'm going to start my own wiki.
But yeah, I'm definitely not going to do that, because as you mentioned, like it's way too much work to do that shit. So
yes, yeah. But they're wargaming all of these different scenarios. Like, okay, don't kiss her. She could have a vial of acid that she breaks on you, secreted between her gum and her lip. hydrofluoric acid, dead in 18 hours. Don't grab her hand because, there may be a hidden blade or a false fingernail that'll poison you. Just running through like, what if I take her to the hot tub? Water dissolves poison. I can see all of her weapons and I get to see the goods as a bonus. Like,
very funny.
You asshole. But she doesn't want to go to the hot tub. Dean, he does a very good job at this. He's aware of what the game here is. Like, oh, it's too cold. Can I just sit down on the couch? And wow, Hank comes out and does this whole big thing about the will. And Rusty's like, oh, don't worry. I have a huge life insurance policy. You'll be taken care of. Dean pours him a drink and hands it to him. Rusty takes a sip of it without thinking. And Dean says, you just ingested a lethal dose of tetrodotoxin.
And again, I think it's Dean is the one that's like, all right, let's run it again, people. Like taking over that theater kid. Like I'm the director of the show or whatever.
Yep.
Very funny stuff. We finally see who Phantom Limb's arch is, and it's Hunter. They meet each other in Central Park. They do the whole Whistling Ohio thing, and they are there to and it's very. I don't get this. I get it, but like when they whip out the rulers and they start talking about measuring from the top or the base or whatever, and it's a literal dick measuring contest between the two of these. It's very like I feel like if you had this competition with somebody, you would just have already solved it by now. Like I didn't think that this would be like a revisit when you're old kind of situation.
The way that I read it is they've been tangling with each other for so long that they just independently decided that this is what it's been about anyway. So let's settle it.
I guess that this is the only thing we have to fight over, right? Like yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I guess that's good.
So are we measuring from the top, from the base? Let's try to keep a little dignity. Hey, you guys are measuring your dicks in the largest public park in the largest city park in the country. Like, yeah. I don't know how much dignity there is to be had here.
There's literally no dignity left. But that's okay because this scene doesn't last long, and it gets us to what is probably my favorite scene of the episode, which is Red Death, who has after knocking Blind Death out, has tied him to the train tracks and goes on an extended monologue about like old school villainy. He talks about like the mechanics of fear and suspense, and like the reason it worked is because there were ticking clocks. Now they're all digital. There's it works because you have a slight hope to get away. Like maybe you can untie yourself. And it just, of course, Clancy Brown can deliver anything in this voice and just have it be perfection, and it works so well. I love it. And like when he starts getting into it, though, there's the train is coming, tick 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 tick.
Yep. Is it on this track?
Man.
Tick tick tick. It's so good because like he can Red Death can obliterate whoever he wants. He has a spectral steed that he rides, and he can use his scythe to send energy blasts that have been shown to be able to destroy buildings. Like if he wanted to, he could just end Blind Rage. No, like he is dedicated to the craft in a way that like that's kind of been the Monarch's whole thing. Right. Mm-hmm. Which is like, it's about the show. It's about doing it right. It just, he's had plenty of chances to do whatever he wants to with Rusty, but it has to be ostentatious because he's in it for the hate. Right. Yeah. And Red Death is like the actual functional version of that. And you can just tell that he has a passion for the craft, not just because Blind Rage is a complete dick who disrespected a colleague of his, but just this is what he does.
Exactly. Yeah. He's just a professional villain, and he's good at it. Like he's not trying to pretend to be something he's not. He is just this villainous and this evil, and he kind of gets off a little bit on it too at the same time. Yeah. Love Red Death so much, and everything about this dude rules. So good.
But he flies off. We don't see if Blind Rage dies. If it's on the right track or not. But yeah, the boys like to keep their toys out of the toy box.
Dr. Z goes to the rehab center because, of course, that's where Johnny is. I love this little bit where the check-in lady at the rehab clinic keeps calling him John instead of Johnny. and Dr. Z is like, why do you must you insist on calling him John? Like he just does the whole thing. And eventually she like relents because it's not visiting hours, but she's like, oh, you came a long way, so she lets him visit Johnny.
Yeah.
And
well, he says something super heartbreaking, which is, like, oh, ever since Dr. Quest, ever since his father died, Johnny's all that I have left. Which, I mean, it's not all that he has, but that's how he feels, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's real sad.
Yeah.
Gosh, just the codependence that kind of underlines these arch relationships is a beautiful thing.
It really is something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like they just, I mean, it's just every single one of these characters, you would think you either hate them or love them, but you end up just like feeling pity for them. Like they're just all pitiful, despicable people.
Yeah. But he's happy with this. He's happy that she's going to cut him a break. Oh, you're very kind. I will spare your life. Just playing into it. Very cute. And she's playing along. It's great.
It's good.
And Red Mantle and Dragoon, they decide to, let's watch another episode of Downton Abbey, just procrastinating further.
Mm-hmm. Because you have to watch more. You can't watch one episode of Downton Abbey. You just have to keep watching it. You get addicted. Now we go back to Dr. Mrs. the Monarch, who has dressed up in her old outfit, which is remarkably bad. Like, I don't know if y'all talked about this when she first shows up in this thing, but like, it's just as good as they are at inventing all of these superheroes. They're almost sometimes better at dressing them in terrible things, because this just feels like something that you would be ashamed of having worn in your past, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like there's things I look back on my Jinko phase and I'm like, not a good situation. Like this feels like her Jinko phase.
Yeah. Me with my Hawaiian shirt phase in middle school.
There you go. Exactly right. Yeah. You were 20 years too early on that one, Cole.
Is that too early? Have Hawaiian shirts come back around?
Yeah, I've seen like, I don't know how, I'm not like fashion guru guy, but like I've seen folks like starting to wear Hawaiian shirts and stuff.
Oh, that's a bad idea.
Yeah. There's an extended like meme for a while. I feel like I saw 4 or 5 videos of people all like for surprise birthday parties getting Hawaiian shirts with like the birthday person's face on them, and shit like that. Like I don't know, man. Who knows?
Yeah, if you're doing a Dan Flash's thing, that's fine. But just a Hawaiian shirt, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, dude. It's very weird. Fashion always extremely fucking weird.
Yeah, but she shows up in this dumpy outfit and she's walking down. She's mortified, just embarrassed. Mm-hmm. And 21 is there in a full size Moppet costume, which is fun. He's got the ringlet wig on it, and 21 is alarmed that this tracker is taking them right to Ventec Tower. Like, not only is the Monarch angry because you're quitting villainy, but also like we can't be anywhere near Venture when this happens. He's going to lose his mind. Exactly.
Yeah. I like that 21 has become like such an integral part of this like family unit of the Monarchs that he just doesn't even bat an eye at dressing up like a Moppet, like Moppets who have literally tried to murder him in the past.
He killed his best friend. Yeah.
They eventually see Novia, who is of course standing outside the front door. She, as you mentioned earlier, is going to be also the Black Widow character that Rusty has been lusting after all episode. Dr. Mrs. Monarch starts getting cold feet. She starts trying to pull back, like, I don't want to do this. But 21 just jumps up, and Novia is like, are you Tom? You're big? I didn't know you could get big. Like, she seems so very confused right out the gate. Like, recognizes the outfit, but doesn't understand why this person is big. And then 21's explanation is also extremely weird.
I forget what he says. What's he say?
Oh, he's like, well, I'm not really one of those. I'm just, I'm kind of an assistant or like maybe a sidekick, depending on who you're looking for. Like, it's obviously just nonsense. Like, doesn't make any sense. One of the weird things is that at this point, Dr. Mrs. the Monarch starts showing up, and she calls her Sheila, and I keep forgetting that her name is Sheila because Sheila was my mom's name, so it's always just weird when it comes up on the show. So yeah, we learned that back in season 3, but it has not really been established. She kind of doesn't have a name. Yeah, Dr. Mrs. the Monarch. Yeah,
we have to call her that. It is a name so unwieldy that when I take notes, I have to write it DMM. Yeah, but like
feel you.
I love this incredibly awkward situation. Like Dr. Miss the Monarch just is trying to slip away into the cracks between the sidewalk and is just saying like, "Oh my gosh, you look so great." It's it's like seeing it's like seeing an old ex who's like thriving more than you want them to or something. It's
Exactly.
like oh gosh, and she's just lost her nerve and is like sobbing. She's really really emotional because it's just bringing up a lot, and she is not really that certain about where she's at, and Sheila's just and Terry's just doing her best to like comfort her and kind of being a little bit condescending, but I can't blame her because this mess just walks right up and catches you off guard.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like this is just out of nowhere, and you have no like capacity, and it shakes her. Like we're going to see towards the end of the episode, it kind of shakes her up a little bit.
Yeah,
which is like classic Venture Brothers thing, where you think that this is going to be like a wacky, cartoonish situation where they meet up, and it turns into like this big emotional moment, like where because even Mrs. the Monarch she just gets like kind of into her feelings about it, of like I've got all of this stuff happening, and like it just gets kind of and it's. I have fully expected this to be like a fight scene, right? Like, but they just always undercut your expectations.
Yeah, and it's worse for Dr. Mrs. the Monarch that it worked out this way. Like, oh my gosh, my I cried into my arch enemy's shoulder, and she comforted me. Like it's humiliating.
Absolutely, yeah.
So back down at the rehab center, Dr. Z and Johnny are talking in the in the lab, and Dr. Z is just coming on way too strong. Like, oh, I got permission for you to come live with me and me and my wife. Just like, hey, can we take you in? And Johnny is just kind of being silent, and Dr. Z also unravels on this, saying like, oh, you could come here and be partners, platonically. Well, not like Plato, and because him and boys, the classic Greeks, am I right? And if that's where your conversation goes, you
just need to back up.
Yeah, you have steered your car into a bridge embankment.
You need to get out of this conversation immediately. Back away immediately.
That's why you carry smoke bombs.
Oh man. And Johnny calls this out, and he's like, oh man, maybe you could just like loan me a couple of bucks. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. And they do the classic thing where they Johnny is like, would you want me to go like run and hide or something? Like if this is your like, do you want me to like, and I love the fact that they'll kind of like role play as these things. Like it's just constantly showing that this whole thing is a complete charade from the very beginning. So
yeah, it's it is both sweet and sad, and that is a wonderful intersection to exist at.
Yep. Really good stuff. We finally, Red Dragon and Dragoon open their letter after several episodes of Downton Abbey, and oh hey, they've outlived everybody. They won. Yep. All of their enemies are deceased. Really funny moment that this is.
All of those dead jerks can suck it. Boy, that guy from Home Improvement really dodged a bullet tonight.
Absolutely, he did.
Oh man, just wonderful. They won. Yeah. So and then the episode closes out with Rusty, who ends up poisoning himself or being poisoned by Brock because he is pale, sunken-eyed, and sweaty and completely delirious. He can't hold himself upright when he's talking to her. And she's put off because she's more focused on this meeting that was down there. Is like, oh, you are unafraid of saying anything. He says, oh, I'm so hopped on all this atropine, theophylline, and antivenom that Brock gave me. So like they just loaded him up with every kind of antidote, and it poisoned him. And
it actively poisoned him, which is, I mean, classic Venture Brothers. Like by the time it's time to seal the deal, he is just physically unable to do it. Brock is, of course, like in the bushes with a laser rifle, like trained on her the whole time. And when Rusty finally like collapses, like trying to like lean in for a kiss, I think like you could see the pointer laser like chip to her head, and she's like, "I didn't do that. Like, I had nothing to do with this."
She holds her hands up, like, "Yeah, no, please don't shoot me."
And that's going to finish up that plot for a while but one last scene with Dr. Mrs. Monarch, who is riding in the vehicle with 21, who, I don't know if we specifically called this out, but like he has started to embrace change, and he wants to start with getting the his ponytail cut off. And man, she has nothing good to say about this ponytail. Like, it's bad. It smells weird and the whole nine. It's just really gross.
It smells like LA looks. It's like I never get over the wet look. So he's got this 80s ass ponytail.
Super gross.
But he tries to comfort her, saying, well, you didn't vomit until after she was gone. But she got the last laugh anyway, because while she was hugging her and all that, she lifted her pocketbook. So Little Miss Fancy got herself arched. Got it. Then we get credits, and the post credits is the council going around and declaring whether or not they're going to stay. Wide Whale is going to back out of the council because he just wants to continue being a mobster. And Phantom Limb gets up and declares himself like, yes, I'll be on the council. And I might add that I was that last night I was mighty in my victory, like an inch mightier.
What a weird brag. Like, nobody knows that dude, man. Like, what are you?
Oh, you petty man. And then the question turns to Dr. Miss the Monarch, who kind of sweats the question and doesn't really answer. The commentary, they talk about like, oh, we really hope that people understand that, like, yeah, no, she absolutely accepted, but she didn't expect the question to be that hard to answer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There was going to be another post credits where Hunter was going to be berating the doctor who did his sexual reassignment surgery, Dr. Volcano, the weird mumbly voice guy who's voiced by Brendan Small, berating him for reattaching his penis incorrectly. So like, oh, it was longer when you took it off. I'm happy that they ended on the original. The one that's
kind
good.
Kind of a dumb joke. And it ends, I think it ends perfectly the way it is, because it like does leave this question in the air a little bit, but like you kind of know what's going to happen with her. So and don't need anything past that. Also, this post credit scene is really long, right?
It is. Yeah.
It's a lot longer than usual, because Autumn was getting up to make dinner as soon as the episode ended and ended up just standing in the living room for like a solid 45 seconds until the thing was over.
Yeah.
What a great episode though. Like it's we don't get the like crazy super villainy wackery that we did in the last episode, but like just some really like surprisingly emotional stories at the same time, it being some real like, how dumb is this universe moments, which is always really fun for me.
Yeah, it's a good mix, I think I said it earlier, but like it exists at some really good intersections. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for hopping on and for covering for Gary while he has the COVID. It's been a good time.
It's been a great time. I love talking about the Venture Brothers.
Where can people find you?
Best place is Twitter at JG Greer. I do podcasts. So I do podcasts with Gary on the Duckfeed network called Days of Future Cast. If you like comic books, which if you're watching Venture Brothers, you probably do. I also do a podcast about the TV show Merlin from 2008 called Still His Kingdom Keeps, which if you're watching the Venture Brothers, you probably don't watch. Just saying. It just doesn't seem a lot of overlap. But if you like magic, that's a good place to go to. I usually retweet all that stuff on the Twitter. So at JG Greer is where to go. And thank you, Cole, for having me on. This has been a lot of fun.
It's been a great time. If you're listening, you probably know how to help out the show. Go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Support the network. We have the next show planned probably by the time the next episode comes out. We'll be ready to say what it is. We're cutting it kind of close, but we think that you'll be excited about it because we're excited. Otherwise, you can leave ratings or reviews wherever you are able to leave ratings or reviews. Tell your friends, talk about us on social media. It's all good. And we appreciate everybody who has done those things. All we have is word of mouth and your support. And we're real grateful that we have those.
I told Gary this on Days of Future Cast a while back because as we were doing outro just like this, and we were talking about, tell your friends, and we always usually make a joke about like, tell your mom, tell your cousins, or whatever. I was listening to a podcast about a guy who it was an interview with a guy who was a rapper who's a pretty established dude nowadays, but they were asking like, what would you do if you were a young rapper like trying to come up? And he's like, I would do the same thing I do right now, which is when I go to any function, family function, social function, I grab people's phones and I make them follow me on Spotify. And then I hand their phones back to them, and they don't know, like that their life doesn't change at all. But that number like affects me in a really large way. So, so like, if you're out there and you're listening to Orb and you're at a family reunion, just go grab your cousin's phones, subscribe them to the podcast via Spotify, and we'll get the numbers, and they'll never know.
Do it. It's fine. Oh man, go ahead and do that. Grab the phone however you can, and also go Team Venture.